So, we're always thinking of really good ideas for the movie theaters, right? Or another way to say it is we always have grievances about sort of our experiences at the movie theater. But I think we're inventors. Like, you invented the City Walk Old Fashioned.
The City Walk Old Fashioned, AMC Old Fashioned, whatever you want to call it.
Now, can you just remind the good folks at home one more time the recipe?
To.
Thanks.
So that is a Coke Zero or Diet Coke, what have you, with orange, because it's a freestyle machine. So you get orange.
You can pick a little splash of orange in your Coke.
That's right.
Right, okay.
And then you just dump in a couple mini bottles of Seagram 7 Crown.
Love that. And you buy those at the concession stand, or you just kind of pocket those bad boys and you walk right in with them?
Gas station.
I like that.
Yeah, liquor store.
That's a very romantic and fun idea. I have just a complaint to lodge, and I wonder if you've been feeling this too. We've been going to the movies a lot ever since we started the podcast, and I'm finding that I have to sit in the center of every movie theater, because if I sit 3 seats to the right or 3 seats to the left, the glare of the landing strip-sized blue lights is going to be up in my eyes the whole entire show. I get that people need to be safe when they are walking down, and AMC doesn't want a lawsuit on their hands, but I don't know. Maybe they're using a brighter light these days, but it's worse than phones. Like, it's just like a blue light constantly in my eyes.
Are you gonna land a plane in here?
It's in my periphery, the blue light on my eyes for the entire movie. I have to put my little hand up like this to kind of block it out. Am I just being a big whiner, or have you experienced? I mean, you're on your phone the whole entire time anyway, so you might not even realize.
I'm not on my phone.
You don't have light
the whole
sensitivity.
Time. No, I'm not. I am a corner boy, though. I do like the corners. I do the back corner. That's my.
Well, then you see a whole entire strip down the thing.
I'm right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If anything, it makes it easier to use my phone. Selectively,
okay, right?
Because I'm already bathed in light. I'm already bathed in the light from the runners. Yeah,
it's what do they call it? Like light pollution. Like, I want the lights off. I want it to be dark as shit. Anyway, that's my gripe of the week. Let me know if you guys are experiencing this on some of our beautiful and wonderful social media channels.
And this is why people aren't going to the movies anymore.
Because
Except they are this week. Oh my gosh, we'll get into it. This week on Movies, baby, we're ranking the top 10 summer blockbusters of all time. There are so many candidates for this list. We've been racking our brain to come up with the best list, but we're ultimately going to do it live on this show. We're going to fight. We're going to scratch. We're going to claw. We're going to try to get our picks on the top 10, but we can only create one list, and we're going to do it right here tonight, and it's going to be the definitive list of all time. Yeah. We're also talking about 2024 box office, the state of the movies, a very quick review of Inside Out 2, that and maybe even more. Joe, are you ready?
You know it, Brett.
Margo, why don't you roll that theme song, please? There it is.
This is what those influencers must feel like when they dip in the ice bath.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
Yeah.
I can't get enough movies, baby. But how about you? Do you have the sickness too?
Bum, 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 bum.
Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, "Move, baby, you're in my seat, and you don't want to mess with who? The Philly movie freak."
Me, the Philly movie freak.
There he is.
Can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Hey, how about you? Ooh, I've got it bad too.
We've all got it.
Every night of the year, like the moon I appear at every movie theater all over town.
Every single one.
Cut to black, roll credits. Whoa, baby, I'm lost in a fog. I need someone to talk to.
Hi.
Look, Georgia movie dog. Dog.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
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 Yeah!
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, seconds, and prophecy the future of Hollywood. Prophesy that future of Hollywood. I'm Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly movie freak. here as always with my good friend and partner, Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! Joe, let's start this week's episode with that unpredictable engine of chaos. That wheel of chaos just turns and turns. And of course, I'm talking about the weekly domestic box office returns. Margot, show me the money. Oh, yes. Wow. What the hell am I looking at, Joe?
Bang.
What is that number next to Inside Out 2?
Brett, unless mine eyes deceive me, it's $154 million.
What the hell? I didn't know a movie could make that much money.
Well, it must have been in the theaters for 100 weeks.
That's got to be a typo. Yeah.
Oh no, wait. It says
it's opening
1
weekend.
week. This is the opening week. It's 154
for
million
Inside
United
Out 2?
States dollars. Margo, are we sure this is in U.S. dollars?
This is. Margo's going to check on this, but I think this is legit, Joe. We knew it was going to be a big weekend for Pixar. We didn't know it was going to be this big. $155 million.
So I'm looking at this, bro.
For Inside Out 2, $155 million opening weekend. Now, how exactly how big of a deal is this? How do we contextualize an opening weekend of $155 million? And Margo, you can come back to me because I'm about to freaking lay it out for these people what this means. Show some respect. This is the biggest opening of the year by a landslide. Dune 2 did $82.5 million in its opening weekend, so Inside Out 2 nearly doubled. It nearly doubled the box office of the second biggest movie of the year. Second, this is the first movie since Barbie. Remember Barbie?
Yes.
That summer. Oh, Barbenheimer. This
remember.
is the first movie since
year.
Barbie to open over $100 million in its opening weekend. And third, and most importantly, this is the one that shocked me. Because the first two, it's just competing against other movies that are also in this era of box office slump. Number 3, this is the second highest animated opening ever.
Wow.
After The Incredibles 2. Ever. Wow. And that's coming in the midst of this historically bad summer box office that has everyone wondering, are summer blockbusters a relic of the past? Do people still want to come out to the movies? And in the midst of all that anxiety and hand-wringing, you have Bad Boys 4 and Inside Out 2 back to back. Wow. We were about ready to throw in the towel.
We were getting so despondent.
2 weeks ago, we were like, oh, the movies are dead.
This has really been this has been a week of learning for me because our behavior, I'm a Philly sports fan. I grew up, I'm the Philly sports, or what am I, the Philly movie dog?
The Philly movie freak.
Philly movie freak.
Dog, how dare you? Lay off my IP.
I'm the Philly movie freak. I'm from Philly. We are, when the Eagles win the game, they're going to the Super Bowl. When they lose the game, I couldn't even look at them.
Nobody runs more hot and cold.
Right? Yeah,
nobody runs more hot and cold than a Philly sports fan.
This reminds me of that because we were back on Furiosa, and I was just, it was done. It was
end
done.
Of days.
The movie theaters were all going to shut down.
Furiosa made under 30 opening weekend. We were like, pack it in.
It was over.
Yeah.
But that just reminds me, look at these larger trends. We reviewed, Brett, this week hundreds of we didn't watch them, but we reviewed hundreds of movies because we're going to talk later about our top 10 box office movies ever.
Summer blockbuster movies
going through
ever.
this list, in the Marvel heyday era, 9-10 years ago, sure, there were 6-7 movies making this kind of money a year.
Yeah.
But acting like the sky's falling in is just, maybe that was just crazy. Now it's not it's earned craziness between the COVID and the strikes and the Hollywood media freefall
and streaming taking a chunk.
We're primed for for all those reasons we talked about. We're primed to feel bad about things, but reviewing this list, it's it is hard to make this much money as a movie. $115 million opening weekend, that mirrors exactly in the same month Minions did
155.
Wow. In the opening weekend, or that's the opening
Inside
week?
Out 2. Inside Out 2, 155.
155. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry. Other giant animated movies that come out in June and July. performed this well opening weekend, not quite as well, but like it just reminded me that, okay, I bet this reminds me, of just of basketball every year. I bet 10 years ago we were like, summer box office is going to fall apart, and then Minions hit, and everyone's like, oh yeah, like a big kids movie in June and July. Like, I wonder if we're just
the movies go through these cataclysms every 5-10 years, as we'll talk about later when we look at the history of the summer blockbuster. It's not unusual. We're not living in the end of movies. We're living in the once a decade sort of lull where the movies have to recalibrate and figure out how to move forward. But people still want to come out to the movies.
Obviously.
Streaming didn't kill that. COVID didn't kill that. But let's dig in for a second more into this Inside Out 2 success story, because this is still huge by any, you can explain it all you want. This was still pretty shocking. I did not know a movie could still do 155 opening weekend, but it sure can. And this wasn't just a big win for the box office as a whole. It was also a huge, much-needed win for Disney and Pixar, because these are two brands who once upon a time were the surest of sure things at the box office, as sure as Marvel, as sure as anything.
And Marvel is Disney.
Thank you very much. Yeah, but lately,
you know what I mean? Just like, yes, that's how good they are at
exactly.
this. Exactly.
Right. They don't make bombs. They make hits after hits after hits. But lately, both brands have suffered through some big-time disappointments. Pixar had record low openings for their last two movies, Lightyear and Elemental. Lightyear only made $51 million opening weekend, en route to $118 million total domestic. Elemental opened under $30 million, $29.5 million domestic. That's Furiosa numbers. By far the worst,
crazy.
The worst opening in Pixar history. And it did eventually recover, and it ended up making like $500 million globally.
Isn't that amazing?
But this is Pixar. Right. They aren't used to any bad news at the box office, much less an opening weekend under 30. A Pixar opening weekend under 30 was crazy. So what was the reason for this slump before we get to the resurgence? The reason for the slump was pretty clear. First, Lightyear and Elemental were just kind of bad, not even bad ideas, just sort of like formless ideas. They didn't have that real, just powerful punch of a Pixar movie, that sort of potential to become a cultural phenomenon. They both felt just kind of overcooked. Because Lightyear, even though it's part of one of their most successful franchises, Toy Story, didn't bear any resemblance to the things that people like about Toy Story. It was like the story of the real person that the Buzz Lightyear toy was made on. What are you guys doing?
Hat on a hat. Just want too much.
Silly. Like the Toy Story movies work because all the gags are about them being toys.
Right.
So that was obviously a miss. And then Elemental was just sort of an Inside Out ripoff.
I know. Right.
But with more generic characters, and then this bizarre reliance on ancient science of the four elements. So these are both like just Elemental truly feels like the last Pixar idea. It feels like if you had all the Pixar writers write 100 ideas, this would be the lowest ranking, most undercooked idea you could come up with. Remember the four elements? What if they were characters?
It doesn't
in a
even
movie?
feel like a Pixar, like a real Pixar movie. It really cheapened the whole brand, both those movies you talked about.
It doesn't. And the other big reason for the slump is streaming. Disney Plus has been very aggressive in its distribution strategy. Lightyear was on Disney Plus 6 weeks after it premiered in theaters. Elemental was on Plus within 3 months of its theatrical release. And so there wasn't a whole lot of urgency to see these movies in theaters either. And that's just Pixar. Disney, Jesus, Disney. In 2002, their big movie was Strange World with Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid. You remember Strange World, right? We all love Strange World.
Crazy.
That cost Disney reportedly $200 million. They lost $200 million on Strange World. And then in 2023, Wish failed. A Disney animated movie did not hit $20 million in its opening weekend. And it was a holiday weekend. It was Thanksgiving weekend. It did not hit $20 million. So Pixar and Disney were desperately in need of a hit. So what do? They make the safest bet that you can possibly make. They go back through the old catalog. They take one of their old hits. The first Inside Out was a huge box office hit. It also won the Academy Award for Best Animated Movie. And they remake it with basically the same plot and the same characters. And lo and behold, it worked. It worked. What are the two biggest animated openings of all time now? Incredibles 2 and Inside Out 2. And in terms of streaming, they've recalibrated their whole streaming strategy. They haven't announced the streaming date for Inside Out 2 yet, but they did announce a spin-off series coming to Disney Plus early next year. Wow, guys, smart.
Good idea. That's what I would do.
Good idea that you should have thought of a long time ago. So IP wins again. Pixar might be...
Is that what you think it was?
I think so. Because I think
at the end of the day, it's like trusted IP.
Trusted IP, repackaged in basically the same form with a couple little additions.
Was there any sort of like marketing thing they did special? Like... I'm looking for other reasons because it wasn't even 75 million, which we'd both be like, whoa, 75 million. Oh, it's 155. Like, is it just it's a trusted IP that people liked Inside Out 1. Here comes Inside Out 2. It's
and
summer,
because ironically, because they were so, I think because people were so starved for a Pixar hit.
Yeah.
Because I think their bombs actually help them because Pixar and Disney are lucky in that they are operating in a essential genre. Like our culture needs animated movies. It needs good children's animated movies.
Of course.
And they were failing to provide that, thus in a way creating the demand that they then supplied with Inside Out 2. But I do think Pixar is at a big like creative crisis right now. I think they are creatively bankrupt. I don't think we're getting another Ratatouille or Coco anytime soon, unless we literally get Ratatouille 2 or Coco 2. Don't you fucking dare do a Ratatouille sequel, by the way.
What if you're Remy's dad, Remy's brother?
It's perfect.
What if they cast you as Remy's brother?
I will burn that fucking animation building to the ground. They'll have to close down the 134.
You love Ratatouille. You don't want to watch it.
I love it. That's why I don't. But it's perfect. It's perfect. They're not going to make a.
Maybe we could do Young Remy.
Young Remy.
This isn't what I think is happening, but I just need to talk about it on the movie podcast. Have you heard this like strain of conversation that happened, that was percolating before Inside Out 2 dropped, where Disney and Bob Iger and everyone put their big heads together and they decided that we can't have woke shit in our movies anymore, and Inside Out 2's whole marketing thrust was, we're gonna do broad again, everybody, don't worry, there's no gay characters, there's no people with purple hair, we're just gonna do like that was like part of the marketing of this movie, maybe just in right-wing circles, which I don't swim in, but I have a Twitter, so it's always there. And have you heard this strain of conversation?
I heard, but I don't think...
Of course, I don't think that.
No.
Everybody got the message. This movie's not woke, and they went. But this whole entire... The fact that Bob Iger himself was saying something along the lines of, "You guys are right. We should de-woke our movies," or whatever the parlance is crazy. That they think that because Turning Red flopped because it focuses on an Asian protagonist is. I hope it's not true. I hope it's just, chatter, PR.
I think it is. I think all that
crazy
stuff,
to me.
I don't think that. I don't think that's still how. I don't think that's how people think. I don't think that's why they go to the movies. I don't think they really take it into consideration.
There's no way, right?
Because Inside 2 is not an anti-woke movie. I mean, it's full of therapy speak. It's all female characters. The characters are diverse. People were reading queer themes into the movie. They're not explicit, but I think you can certainly read them into it. It is by no means an anti-woke movie. I think what Bob Iger meant, and I think all of this just comes down to marketing and like the narratives around the movies, because this stuff is always, this stuff rarely has to do with the movie itself. It's just like, I think he was basically, I think that was his message to like avoid becoming a right-wing talking point. And the thing is, you can still make whatever movies you want to make, but if you sort of, again, if you do whatever you have to do, if you middle America up the marketing strategy, then it just doesn't become a talking point, and then you don't have to worry about the backlash, this and that. Here's some other things that Iger and Pixar president Jim Morris said recently that I think also inform the direction they're going in. Last year, Iger said, "We are focusing heavily on the core brands and franchises that fuel all of our businesses and reducing output overall to enable us to concentrate on fewer projects and improve quality. while continuing our effort around the creation of fresh and compelling original IP.
That's literally what we did at Forever Dog.
Yes, that was the original IP is clearly like a throw in to keep all the creatives happy.
That's exactly right.
The main focus is on core brands and franchises, aka IP, sequels, etc. And it worked. You look, Inside Out 2, 155 million opening weekend. Bob Iger can finally add that brick pizza oven to his mega yacht that he's had his eye on for a while. So everything is right in the world. And I also want to say this is very interesting too. Pixar president Jim Morris also recently said in Bloomberg that for Pixar, that whole strategy literally amounts to 3 movies every 2 years, with every other film being either a sequel or a spin-off. And then in terms of streaming, he said the studio is returning to its theatrical first model while simultaneously developing separate series based on existing IP for Disney+, which is exactly what we're seeing with Inside Out 2. And they're probably going to stay the course because Inside Out 2 is their biggest hit in years.
I'd make another one.
Not made by Marvel. Yeah. And get ready for this to be big animated movies. Obviously, there are always big, but I think it's going to be the main theme of the 2024 box office, Joe. I got a prediction for you that I want to lay out there. We say that we prophesy the future of Hollywood.
We do.
And you might call this a safe prediction, but I don't know. There's a little bit of... I'm taking a little bit of a risk here.
Go for it.
My prediction is that at the end of this year, 2024, three of the top 5 grossing movies of 2024 will be animated sequels. I'm talking Kung Fu Panda 4, Inside Out 2. They are both already in the top 5. And they are going to be joined in a couple weeks by Despicable Me 4, which will end the year as the top grossing movie of 2024. Even as big as Inside Out 2 did, Despicable Me 4 is going to be even bigger. It's going to be the top grossing movie of 2024.
Bigger than Deadpool.
Bigger than Deadpool.
Wow.
And if you're saying that's a safe bet because animated movies always do well, I went back and looked, Joe. Do you know the last time there were 3 animated movies in the top 5 of the yearly box office?
No.
And I'm not counting live action remakes.
Was it in the 90s?
It was not in the 90s, no.
Okay, I'm not sure.
It never happened.
Oh.
There have never been 3 animated movies in the box office top 5. Never. It has never happened, but it's going to happen this year, and here's why. The only other 2 contenders for the top 5 that haven't come out yet are Deadpool and Wolverine and Joker 2. Now, Joker 1 made over $1 billion, but that was in 2019. And if you look at Joker 1 comparatively in 2019, it lost to Frozen 2 by $400 million, and it barely edged out Toy Story 4 by $5 million. And then the last Deadpool movie, Deadpool 2, made $735 million in 2018, but it didn't come close to the top performing animated movie of that year, which was Incredibles 2, which we mentioned, which made $1.2 billion. So right now, Kung Fu Panda is at 4. Inside Out 2 is going to be at 1 soon enough. And then I think Despicable Me 4 will end the year at number 1. So in order for my predictions to hold, Kung Fu Panda 4 has to beat out Joker 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. It made $543 million, so it's going to be tight. But this isn't 2018 or 2019. This is 2024. And judging how those two, both R-rated action comic book movies, in their respective years, they did not do as well as the animated movies that came out that year. I think that's going to hold, and I think we're going to see 3 for the first time. 3 animated movies in the top 5 of the 2024 box office.
I love that. So you're saying Megalopolis is like a close 6, you think, on the box office at the end of the year?
I think Megalopolis.
Actually, all jokes aside, at the end of the run, worldwide totals for Megalopolis in millions of dollars. Putting you on the spot, let's guess. I'm gonna guess
worldwide box office for
the entire run, like the number at the end of the whole term. I'm gonna say $48 million. I know that's insanely.
And what was budget? I mean, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. He paid for it himself.
$150 million, whatever. Yeah. I'm not, and I'm gonna call that a win.
It's just Sophia's inheritance that he's just like.
No, Sophia's inheritance is fine. She doesn't even need an inheritance. She's an adult.
Yeah, Roman's worried about the inheritance.
Furious about Megalopolis. Roman hates Megalopolis.
And Margaret, when you get a second, you put up that second box office graphic. I think Megalopolis. So this is the yearly right here.
Wow.
So Inside Out 2 is going to end up at number 1 pretty soon, based on its opening and good reviews. That'll push Kung Fu Panda down to 4.
Wow, you're so quick to dethrone Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. That movie,
well, that'll stay.
Is so big, dude.
The end of the year box office top 5 is going to be Dune, Godzilla Kong, Kung Fu Panda 4, Inside Out 2, and Despicable Me 4.
Despicable Me is going to be
That's
huge.
my prediction.
I love that
Despicable
prediction.
Me 4 is going to be massive.
I agree
it's going to
with
be
that.
massive.
I was wondering,
massive.
I don't know, what franchise? And then when you said, I was like, oh yeah, of course.
Massive.
Despicable Me is like...
The marketing campaign's really good.
This isn't a point of pride. I just need everyone to know. I've never seen any of the Despicable movies or any of the Minion movies.
I've never seen any of them.
I'm not like better. Like I'm not. I don't think that's cool. I think that's lame. How have I never seen one of these?
I've never seen one. We're gonna see our first one, Despicable Me 4. We gotta watch it. I mean, at this point, it's amazing the freedom they have with that brand. They don't have to tell you anything about the movie. They just put a freaking minion on the poster.
Good for them. They must be very funny. Here's what I have to imagine. I have to imagine the Minions are very funny. Because otherwise, a lot of things in my world
how do you explain it?
Don't make sense. One time, I was at therapy, and it was like a year and a half into therapy, and I love my therapist, or I did before we broke up, because I decided
because you solved your brain
because my brain
because it all
is
went
perfect.
to 9/11. All back to 9/11.
Okay, so she made a really salient point about like my childhood, about my father, and I sat there, and then once she finished her point, she slowly lifted up to her mouth her mug that was just a giant shaped like a Minions mug with like big Minion eyes on it and like a big Minion handle, and took a big sip out of it and put it down, and I was like fuck, I was this close to like a real moment, but then Carol just sort of, then I was like, fuck, wait, is Carol is she out of, is she crazy lady? She has a giant Minions mug.
No, she's the normal one.
I think
this is a phenomenon. This is a cultural phenomenon.
Knowing Carol, the Minions are probably pretty funny, otherwise she wouldn't have a mug. That's my take.
It hits every demographic. Adults like Minions because we're all just so fucking
Well, I think they're funny, Brett. No,
lonely.
I think they do Three Stooges stuff.
Gen Z gets to like sort of make fun of it, but also they get to they all wear their suits and they go, and that's a big thing.
Gen Z is so
Gen Z's found
bad.
Their angle, and then kids.
Cut that
I
out.
guess kids can who cares? But as though these movies aren't for kids.
And all the kids will.
The kids will just go and they'll watch anything. But let's make these for us. Speaking of. That's the box office, but what about the actual movie, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
This isn't freaking Bloomberg News. This isn't the Business Insider. What about the movie itself? Inside Out 2 made a ton of money, but is it any good? I saw it with my family. I'm going to give you the short answer to that question right now, and I'm going to save the long answer for Basement Takes. I'm going to save the screed for Basement Takes, because we got to start ranking summer blockbusters. The clock is running. Is Inside Out 2 a good movie? The short answer: if you're a smug, over-therapized helicopter parent who thinks of your kids as adorable little Sudoku puzzles to be solved and completed by the time they graduate middle school, you're gonna love Inside Out 2, baby. If you're a kid, go find anything else to watch, because this movie is not for you. More on that later.
And Basement Takes, you can find it on our Patreon at patreon.com/moviesbaby. That's moviesbaby, baby with 5 Ys, folks. 5 Ys. Having a lot of fun over there on the Patreon.
Having a lot of fun.
And we're spilling the proverbial tea in our show Basement Takes, which follows this program. We're saying things that
Guys,
we are scared that Carson is going to clip them.
Yeah.
We need to send an email after every Basement Take saying, careful,
Carson.
this is
careful.
Lava
Careful.
takes.
I scare myself sometimes.
I
on
agree
Basement
with
Takes.
85% of what I'm saying. I agree with almost all my crazy takes.
Oh no, I agree with them, but they are hot.
They're
dangerous.
Basement Takes. It's the takes we agree with today, but we know there could be a day when that take doesn't feel right, but it's going to feel right tonight.
I think most of them will age well.
I like
They're
that.
ahead of their time.
I like that.
Joe, let's get into summer blockbusters, baby. That's the theme of today's episode. Summer blockbusters.
I am so excited. I've been training for this all week. We are going to put together the Movies Baby 5 Ys official list of the top 10 summer blockbusters. It is going to be, like all of our lists, a calling card. When other movie podcasts or other movie lovers want to know what these guys are all about, I hope they check out our lists. And they'll go, okay, I see. This one is very important. Top 10 summer blockbusters.
This one's big.
Like, Brett, I'm going to tee you up here.
Yeah.
What the heck is a blockbuster?
All right. So let's. What is a blockbuster? How do we define this? And I know you came up with some parameters, and you came up with this list of like 500 potential nominees for the top 10. I want to talk a little bit though about the history of the summer blockbuster, because this is a relatively recent phenomenon in the history of movies, going back to the mid 70s, starting famously, as everyone knows, with Jaws in 1975. But before that, before the 70s, I mean, there was really only one movie before the 70s that could be defined as a blockbuster, I think, which is Gone with the Wind. The studio system in the 20s, 30s, 40s was all about just burn and churn. Just get them out, get butts in theaters. People used to go to the movies as a ritual, not even sort of knowing or planning for what was playing. You would just go to the movies, and then whatever was playing, that's what you watched. And as evidence of that, Gone with the Wind was the all-time box office leader, the highest-grossing movie ever, from 1939 to 1972. From 1939 when it came out to 1972, it was the highest-grossing movie of all time. So for 33 years, and now every year, every couple years, there's a new all-time box office leader. It seems. Yep. Now it's just sort of now it's become this competition. But back then there was really just Gone with the Wind. There, you had some other sort of like, you had 10 Commandments, Ben-Hur, The Sound of Music, big spectacle movies, cultural phenomena, big box office. But even those three could not eclipse Gone with the Wind. The modern blockbuster, I think, I read this great book this week, Blockbuster, How Hollywood Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Summer, by Tom Schoen. I recommend it. And one of his arguments, which made a lot of sense to me, is that the modern blockbuster comes out of two things. It comes out of this kind of crisis in movies in the late 60s, early 70s, where similar to what we're going through right now, where the old way of making movies was collapsing. The studios, all their old tricks were not working. People did not want to go to their big, glitzy, overdone musicals or their period pieces or this and that. And that's where you get this new wave of directors, the new Hollywood directors, who forged the new path for Hollywood. In addition, the blockbusters come out of this reaction to television. Television is big business in the 50s and 60s. It's eating into the market share of movies. Why go to the movies when you can just sit home and be entertained on your couch? And so the movies had to come up with, we need to be bigger, we need to be better, we need to be unique, we need to distinguish ourselves from television. And their first like strategy for that, like a studio-wide strategy across the studios, was that movies were going to be the more like serious, like sophisticated alternative to television. Television is game shows and sitcoms. We're gonna be like NPR, and they thought that was going to be the thing that was gonna keep them financially solvent. But that, of course, didn't work. And so, starting in 1972 with The Godfather, they started to crack the code for what would be the future of Hollywood and the rise of the blockbuster, which is big as fuck, as big as you can get it. The scope of the movie, the marketing of the movie, the release of the movie. The Godfather is one of the first wide release movies, the first successful wide release movie of all time, where you're not selectively releasing it in theaters and then relying on this sort of overcomplicated word of mouth sort of thing to circulate. You are going big and broad out of the gate. You are releasing as many theaters as possible with a big marketing strategy. And lo and behold, The Godfather was the movie that dethroned Gone with the Wind as the highest grossing movie of all time. The Godfather itself was eclipsed just a couple later, like a year or 2 years later, by The Exorcist. And then we get to 1975 with Jaws, because the only problem with Godfather and The Exorcist, the studios loved them. They made tons of money. Oh, now we just do it big and we go wide and this and that, and we make more money than we've ever made before. The problem, though, is that both The Godfather and The Exorcist are very auteur reliant movies. You can't just there's no like template there that you can just hand off to another cheaper director who listens to you more, and then somebody else can just make The Godfather or The Exorcist. Whereas with Spielberg's Jaws, and I'm not taking any away, Spielberg's Jaws is at the level of The Godfather and The Exorcist to me in terms of the quality of a movie, but at its heart has a more sort of generic template that can then just be replicated over and over and over again by people who are not Steven Spielberg. Jaws is the beginning of the summer blockbuster for many reasons. It was the first movie ever to make over $100 million. It made money that people didn't think was possible for movies. The studios were flabbergasted. They said, "Oh my God, this industry is even more profitable than we thought it was. There's a whole nother level of profitability that we have not tapped into." And one of the reasons that created that profitability is not just the quality of the movie, and because of course there was tons of word of mouth, there was repeat viewings. People were watching Jaws 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in theaters. But there was also a massive marketing budget. Jaws had the Universal's biggest marketing budget ever, which is kind of laughable. It was $700,000 was the marketing budget for Jaws, which at that time was the biggest marketing budget ever at Universal, which is of course one of the biggest studios. Jaws, though, led to a couple things. And if you've read, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, or read kind of the history of New Hollywood, you already know this. But Jaws, as great as a movie as it was and is and always will be, did have one arguably negative outcome, which is that the studios retook control of the movie making process. For a couple years, though, they had to hand it over to the auteurs to get Easy Rider, to get Godfather, Apocalypse Now, to get The Exorcist, to get all of these auteur movies. But by the late 70s, the auteurs are starting to get more expensive and they're starting to make their flops, your Sorcerers, your Heaven's Gates. And meanwhile, this guy Steven Spielberg makes what is essentially a B movie with some very creative touches to it, and it makes more money than any movie has ever made before. And so the studios are like, okay, we got this now. We got it. More of the shark movies, more movies like that. We got it from now. And then suddenly the studios regain more control and auteurs get less and less control. And then it became really the reason, the whole essence, the goal of all the studios was to make summer blockbusters after that. Robert Evans told Time after Jaws that the making of the blockbusters is the newest art form of the 20th century. And Michael Eisner, who was the head of Paramount at this point before he went over to Disney, and they also used to call them super grossers before they came up with the better name blockbuster. And so Eisner said the super grossers are things that they become cultural phenomenon. There's no way you can work out on paper what a cultural phenomenon should be, but these movies work because they become cultural phenomenons. So the summer blockbusters became essentially the goal of studios. That's what they were trying to make, because it was an experience you could not get on television, and it made you more money than you had ever seen in your life. So that's the history of summer blockbusters in a little nutshell. But what specific criteria are we looking at when we make this list?
Well, I pulled a short list, and I needed to start somewhere. So first of all, these summer blockbusters. This is a list of summer blockbusters. We understand that movies can be big and expensive at other times of the year, and they can make a lot of money at other parts of the year, like in October and November or around Christmas. That's fine, but this is
most money gets made in the summer.
Summer blockbusters, such a special feeling to them. So what I did for Brett and I is I took every movie. I made a list of every single movie that came out between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Starting with Jaws.
Well, actually, all the way back throughout all of history. Okay. But yeah, basically starting with Jaws. And I had every single movie that grossed over $100 million on this list that opened in the summer. That was by a major studio. Period. That's a lot it's
so many movies.
It's a lot of movies.
So many movies.
So then you really start wondering, is 100 million really enough? I'm down here at the 100 millions, Evan Almighty.
No.
Collateral.
No.
This Is the End.
I like Collateral. I love Collateral. That's not a summer blockbuster.
I'm not saying these are bad movies. I'm saying
blockbuster.
That's not giving me summer blockbuster.
No. What is summer blockbuster? In addition to the money, what is the vibe?
Oh my God. The vibe is it's hot. You're going with a crew, whether it's your friends or whether it's with a big family or whether it's with a girl you like or it's a packed movie theater. It's hot. And the movie's going to be big. The movie tastes like Coke. Right now I'm just seeing an image of Will Smith sweating, right? Will Smith is there. He's young. He's sweating. It's hot out. I am having Coke. I'm here with my aunt and my cousins that I only see once a year.
Usually a genre movie
out there.
Usually a genre movie, a comic book movie, an action movie. It's going to be big.
Look, my dad's going to like it, but so is my little cousin.
Yep. And Eisner,
we all want to go, except my mom who doesn't like movies, but she's going to go because it has X actor in it. That kind of a thing.
And Eisner's like definition as a cultural phenomenon is important. If you think of Barbie last year, if you think of Jurassic Park, any of these big summer blockbusters, they create this phenomena that transcends the movie itself and becomes this like cultural moment where it influences like fashion and toys and spin-off this and that, video games, TV. It's like it becomes this moment that everyone identifies with.
We all just lived through Barbie. That is such a good example. Right? Like,
Barbie's a great example.
Everybody went to the movies. We all dressed in different fun pink Barbie-esque colors for it. Yep. And then it was like on Oreo packets for 6 months. You know, it was like you couldn't eat fucking cereal without seeing Barbie. You can't drive a car without seeing somebody with a Barbie, something. It just became the cultural moment. So that's really what you need, that in a summer blockbuster.
And it tends to be, I think it's so important culturally because most people's earliest memories of going to the movies are usually going to be summer blockbusters, the ones that stick with you. I mean, I think of Jurassic Park, I think of Independence Day, I think of Men in Black. It's like these movies are really like foundational movies for individuals in terms of how you think about going to the movies, what you think a movie is. These movies kind of like, after you move past animated movies, Disney movies, once you're going to like live action movies, these tend to be the movies that like define your understanding of movies as a person, I think, because they're so massive and everyone goes to them and everyone gets to talk about them.
Everyone talks about
and you start to think of movies as these like cultural events that you can share with other people and that represent a sort of place and a time.
So I mean, there's a financial dynamic and there's an untouchable dynamic of like memory and cultural ephemera and zeitgeist, things that we can never put our fingers on.
The relationship to the zeitgeist is interesting, though, because for the most part, Barbie had a little bit of this and that, but like for the most part, summer blockbusters are not trying to like literally capture a moment in time. If anything, they're trying to like escape the moment in time, divorce from the moment in time. But then I think the best ones, the most interesting ones, it's impossible for them not to echo the time, the time period in some way, and to sort of represent it almost unintentionally by trying to escape from it. They often kind of represent the hopes and fears of the year that they came out in some sort of way, and that's, I think, what creates the cultural phenomena aspect of it. So let's get into then. Do we have a money cutoff, a box office cutoff? What do you think?
Well, look. These are the domestic totals. I do kind of feel like 150 million. You have to have grossed 150 million. But there are some under 150 that had gigantic opening weekends, like 45, 50, $60 million opening weekends. And when you read some of these names, how do you want to do this? Should we go back to some of those like fringe candidates? Do you want to get some Jaws up on the board?
Let's get some big ones out, because I also want to say, like, when we're doing the list, the top 10, it's going to be a combination of obviously movies we like, our favorite summer blockbusters, but I also want to pick 10 movies that are unequivocally summer blockbusters. I don't want to find like little loopholes here and there. I want us to pick our 10, like the 10 movies that are like the most summer blockbustery that we also like. You know what I mean? So it's our personal feelings, our preferences, but also like I want to make sure we nail that summer blockbuster vibe.
We need to be disciplined in our nominees because they have to really be emblematic of the genre summer blockbuster.
That's right. To give you an example of a movie that will not be on here, but is on. I went online and looked around. It's on a lot of people's lists of the top summer blockbusters of all time. Is the original Alien, which came out in the summer, made a shit ton of money. It was a cultural phenomenon in a lot of ways. Obviously, just even the chest burster became this thing. But to me, so it checks a couple boxes, but to me, Alien is such an art movie at its core. It's so, before you get the chest burster, it's so sort of thoughtful and atmospheric. It's a brilliant fucking movie. One of my favorite horror movies of all time, sci-fi movies, however you want to classify it. But to me, there's a melancholy to it and an auteurism to it that doesn't really encapsulate what just a popcorn chugging summer blockbuster is. So for me, Alien is not going to make my top 10, not because if we're strictly going by the criteria of a movie that made a lot of money in the summer, of course it's one of my favorite movies of all time that made a lot of money in the summer. But to me, it does not. It just doesn't epitomize to me what a summer blockbuster is. Okay. So what is gonna make this list? Why don't you start shouting out some candidates here?
I mean, I don't think Alien made enough money to make our list, honestly.
No, okay. So it doesn't even qualify.
I don't think so.
Box office wise,
I can look it up. I mean, look, let's just get some ones out. Let's just start saying some ones that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Spielberg. There's Jurassic Park. Spielberg. There's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Jaws.
And there's Jaws. Those are the three that would be on a list, right? I mean, look, let me start here.
It's hard. I mean, look, it's
Jurassic Park and Jaws. Like, let's just start there. Here's what we're gonna start with. Which I think both of those are going to make this list.
They have to. I don't know how you.
They're both perfect, and they both like what says summer blockbuster more than Jaws and Jurassic Park. They're going to be on here. Like we'll place them later. They're going to be high for me. They are high on my personal list. I know they're high on yours too, or I'm sure they are. So those are big ones. I mean, what are just like?
Well, here's what I'd say about Jurassic. Let's just get into Jurassic Park and Jaws because those to me. I mean, I basically have those 1 and 2. Those to me are the original summer blockbuster in Jaws, and then to me, what is the pinnacle of summer blockbusters in Jurassic Park.
Make that case.
The reason I would give Jurassic Park the edge over Jaws on this list is, with all due respect to Jaws is creating the template of the summer blockbuster. If you go when you go back and watch it, it is really like it's such an interesting movie because it is a B movie. It's a B movie that literally is like evolving before your eyes into this new type of movie. But it still has a lot of B movie tropes. I mean, you think about the opening of Jaws, it just sort of like scans over this bunch of hippies on a beach, and it feels like a 60s 70s genre movie. It feels like, from the Roger Corman school. It feels like fun and cheap. It's shocking to think of that intro and then to imagine the movie that you're about to get is Jaws. And there are other moments like that as well. And so to me, Jaws it obviously needs to be on this list, but it is like creating the summer blockbuster out of a genre B movie. And so it still has a foot in sort of the B movie world. Whereas by the time Spielberg gets to Jurassic Park, the summer blockbuster is a thing. He gets more money than God. He's basically going to get a blank check. He has such incredible technical resources at his disposal. By the time we get to Jurassic Park, Spielberg has all the tools to like create the ultimate summer blockbuster instead of having to like shoehorn the summer blockbuster out of a B movie, which I think is what happens in Jaws. So that's no shade to Jaws. But speaking and I think I maybe even like Jaws better than Jurassic Park, but that's where this list is about. Not just what movies do we like, but what movies most epitomize being a summer blockbuster. And to me, Jurassic Park is the movie that I like the most that is also epitomizes the genre. So I honestly, I have Jurassic Park at 1 and Jaws at 2 on the list I came up with. But I also, there's a question of how much room can Spielberg get on this list too.
Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
I don't need to rehash your points. I just want to say that I hear what you're saying. Jaws is a perfect movie. It is unbelievably good, and I love it. But you know what else is a perfect movie that is unbelievably good that I love? Jurassic Park. And nothing kind of slaps of summer. Nothing tastes like Coke and popcorn more than Jurassic Park, baby. And I do love me some Jurassic Park. I don't just like love me some. Like it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. Always has been. I'm ready to give it 1 as well, and I'm ready to give Jaws 2. But Brett, why don't we hold on for a little bit?
All right, let's hold on for a second.
We can kind of like poke around.
Hold on for a second.
Because what if we forget? For the listeners at home, they're not staring at a giant list. I just want to throw out some of these names for context.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Here's the top 10 grossing domestic releases in the summer ever: Top Gun: Maverick, Jurassic World, Barbie, The Avengers, Incredibles 2, The Lion King, The Dark Knight, Finding Dory, and Avengers: Age of Ultron. and one more for fun, Dark Knight Rises, then Shrek 2. So, I mean, that's just fun for context. I mean, these movies made just a ton of money. Top Gun Maverick grossed $718 million domestic. I mean, that's just preposterous. But Brett, two of these titles do jump out at me.
Yeah, what do you got?
The Lion King and The Dark Knight. Can I talk on these for a second?
Yeah. Because we'll start with The Lion King, because I do think we're gonna need an animated movie on this list, because those that Disney run into the Pixar run, those are all summer blockbusters. We need one to represent that.
You know, I mentioned Lion King right off the bat, because not because of the financial reasons, but also because let's talk about some of those other animated things that could go on this list. The Lion King was always a favorite of mine growing up. I recently had the chance to watch it with my nephew last Christmas, and I think I've seen The Lion King 10 times throughout my life. There's a reason I've seen it 10 times, Brett. That movie is
phenomenal.
That is, I don't know like what perfect means, but that's a perfect movie. That is a story so perfectly told.
It moves so fast.
It's so great.
It's doing Hamlet, and it's doing it like that in a way that's understandable to kids. It
amazing. Has great voice performances. All the songs are literally classic. It's The Lion King. I mean, just like other nominees or other animated movies that made a ton of money in the summer. Shrek 2, the Toy Stories, let's see here. Minions, The Rise of Gru, Despicable Me.
Yeah.
There have to be some like good ones on this list. Let's see.
I'd like to speak to Lion King as well, though, because
hit me with it. I'm going to poke around for some more.
Such a foundational movie for me as a kid, and also like really, really nailed that cultural phenomena thing. I mean, the soundtrack alone. The soundtrack is there's another list for the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack was massive. Those Elton John songs were massive, and it also has that unlikeliness, which I like. It's not a likely cultural phenomenon. You know, it's like it's
right now it seems so obvious, but I guess
there's
you're
something
right.
almost like quaint about it, but like no, you didn't question it at the time. It just appeared with the force of like a historical fact.
It's not based on The Jungle Book's based on The Jungle Book.
It's a movie about lions based on Hamlet. It's insane.
Right. That is insane.
But you don't think about any of that. Like it arrived like a freaking nuclear bomb, which is what a summer blockbuster does. Mm-hmm. And the whole culture just revolved around Lion King for 3 months that summer.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's great. Like you said, it's a
awesome.
Great movie. I think it's the best Disney animated
Simpsons movie. Can I interest you in Madagascar? Can I interest you in?
No, I'm hearing nothing that.
What about Ratatouille, Brett?
Well, here's the thing. All right, this is a good question.
$206 million.
Ratatouille is my favorite animated movie of all time. It does qualify based on the criteria.
That's right. It sure does. And it opened with $47 million opening weekend. Huge weekend.
We actually watched it. I watched it with Sandy last week. He's got a little Remy doll that he now sleeps with, which makes me very proud. I mean, that like. This movie's so good. That speech at the end about the role of the critic.
Ratatouille is fantastic, but Brett, as good as it is, I don't know if it caused the cultural ruckus
That's what I was going to say.
that The Lion King
That's what I was going to say.
You know?
It's like it's maybe a little too smart, a little too savvy, a little too niche in certain ways. It didn't have like the soundtrack, for example. It didn't, it did not achieve the cultural phenomenon that Lion King does.
Lion King's a musical. That's right.
What we're looking for. That's what we're looking for this list is movies that like are at the center of all the Venn diagrams. We like them. We think they are hot. We think they are, peak cinema, peak achievements in cinema, but they were these massive cultural phenomenon, and they made a shit ton of money. We're looking for, to hit all three of those quadrants, and I don't think Ratatouille hits all of them. So I'm going to say Lion King needs to go on this list. So right now...
I love it. I mean, put it on the short...
short list right now. We've got Lion King, Jaws, Jurassic Park. That Lion King takes care of an animated movie. I don't think we need 2 because we only have 10.
Takes care of musicals too. Not that I think of musicals in summer, but just in case.
Now you want to talk about The Dark Knight because we need a Batman.
Let's talk about superhero movies. Let's talk about Batman. All right, here's just something I'm looking at staring me dead in the eye. I got The Dark Knight made a ton of money. Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins made a ton of money. Spider-Man 2, Transformers is that comic book. Thor: Love and Thunder, not coming close to our beautiful list. Fuck off. Spider-Man: Far From Home, Jump Off a Bridge, Wonder Woman.
All right, well, hold on.
All those movies, right?
I'm thinking of Batman almost as different.
Batman as a not superhero as Batman. Okay.
I think we could probably find the way to get maybe get 2 superhero movies on here, and one of them has to be a Batman movie, because
I love it. So
you're talking about the Nolans, you're talking about the Burtons, and you're talking about like the first Joel Schumacher one, I think, right? Those are the ones that are eligible.
Wow. I mean, what a thrilling...
So where are you going with your head?
Thrilling question. I wasn't there for Tim Burton's Batman, okay? I get it. Prince was on the soundtrack. Jack Nicholson.
Michelle
I
Pfeiffer
love
in
that
the sequel.
movie.
Come on now.
Michelle Pfeiffer in the sequel. We're not picking... The sequel's not going to be it. But I was there, folks, for The Dark Knight. Dark Knight changed the game. I was away at like a theater program in the middle of nowhere, and we would like walk. I think I saw it 3 times to the movie theater to go see The Dark Knight. Talk about a movie that owned not only the 3 months that preceded it, but I don't know, the 15 years that preceded it. Ne'er do I go to a movie when it's not at least subconsciously referencing The Dark Knight. And I mean that in a million different multitude of ways. But every single giant financial cinematic project since The Dark Knight has just been in the shadow of Dark Knight, all the way up until Dune 2. Like Christopher Nolan, just like Spielberg did with Jaws, it was sort of like another inflection point. Batman Begins, I remember seeing that in the summer and I loved it. It was huge. We were all excited. There was a new Batman. But Dark Knight changed everything. Dark Knight, and then just talk about... I always like to make jokes, and we can do this on Basement Takes, and it's fun to play. What's your favorite Batman? What's your favorite? I'm not saying Dark Knight's my favorite Batman, although maybe it is because it's so freaking good. What I'm saying is it's going on my list of top 10 summer blockbusters. It checks all of our criteria and then some, and then on top of all of it, Brett, the movie's dope. The movie's fucking good. It has great performances. It's so big. It's so huge. It's so culturally important. What other Batman are you flirting with putting above Dark Knight?
Well, here's the thing. Dark Knight checks so many boxes. I remember it as a summer phenomenon. I think I saw it a couple times in theaters. It owned that summer. It redefined big budget movie making. I think you're absolutely right. I think Nolan became the new Spielberg with that movie, and then all the other directors of that caliber started to kind of exist in his shadow in a way. He certainly created a new template for the summer blockbuster. I wonder if tonally it's a little like dour for a summer blockbuster. It has a very dark tone, a very melancholy tone. It doesn't really have like a happy superhero ending. It has a very conflicted ending. But then again, Jurassic Park has a very conflicted ending. They all have to abandon the project and flee the island. So maybe that's not a trademark of a summer blockbuster. But tonally, it feels a little dour and melancholy, whereas the Tim Burton Batman, which I would say is on par in terms of a cultural phenomenon, is on par with The Dark Knight for 1989. I mean, you're talking, that thing was in, as weird as it is in moments, that thing was in McDonald's lunchbox, in McDonald's Happy Meals, toys, music videos, spin-offs, this and that.
I'm convinced it was massive. I just wasn't there. But I hear you. Mm-hmm.
I would say equally massive as The Dark Knight in terms of a cultural phenomenon, in terms of influence on popcorn filmmaking. But it's like it's a little fun. It's a little more fun. It's a little kitschier. It retains a little bit more of the sort of Batman kitsch. It's a little sillier. It's easier to kind of just sit back and chug popcorn to.
Right.
It's not obsessed with psychological realism. I mean,
listen, The Dark Knight is like. I think you're onto something, and I'm not saying no, but I just feel like The Dark Knight. Are we like divorcing it from like the Heath Ledger death and the school and the theater shootings and like putting all of that behind it? Like, now it has such like insane emotional baggage. But that summer it just had holy fucking shit. Batman is the fucking best, and now he's got a bike.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was like, whoa, the Joker just blew up the building. And Batman, has a bike. I mean, now it's like a very dour, sad thing to think about because of all of its cultural baggage. How about this? I haven't convinced myself. I think I like the original Batman very much.
Yeah.
But I know in my heart that Dark Knight is a good pick. Batman, I don't know. Brett, what about the Spider-Man? Sorry, I'm jumping around, but like, I don't think we've come to a conclusion. I'm ready to sit here all night and fucking have this whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, we're also gonna have to represent, the last 10 years of blockbusters, 10, 15 years. I think we're going to have a lot of like 90s stuff on here. So Dark Knight we're going to need something that like represents that era.
Okay, well, let's put it on the back burner for a second. Let's feel out some more choices.
All right.
Do you have a Spider-Man opinion?
So we've narrowed the Batman spot down to Dark Knight or
well, I mean, look, I could also I am going to edit myself for time. We have a lot of movies to talk about, but sure. I could also make an impassioned Batman Begins case. But we can move forward. We can move forward.
That's going to do is that's going to take out Dark Knight, though. They're gonna just compete with each other, and then
I didn't say a word.
So I wouldn't bring up Batman Begins if you're fighting for Dark Knight. All right, what do you got next?
We don't
Spider-Man?
care about superhero movies, but we got to talk about Spider-Man because Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies were the summer.
That was huge.
They were the summer.
That was huge.
I mean, both of those. I left the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, wishing I could web myself. I remember just like putting my arms up, like uncontrollably trying to web from thing to thing. I was so enthralled by Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man 2 was like such a huge summer deal.
And I was like a pretentious college student when I saw the first Spider-Man, and I took my glasses off, I rolled down my black turtleneck, and I was like, well, I didn't know I could have fun like this at the movies. I didn't know I could I didn't know I was legally allowed to have fun like this at the movies. The first Spider-Man was just such a like shock to the system of like a return to just like fun, comic booky, like it's just, I mean,
It's the first Spider-Man is Willem Dafoe, your guy James Franco, all these amazing actors, like just amazing stuff. I love the movie. Maybe there is no Batman. Maybe Spider-Man's our superhero for the summer. Who knows?
I don't know. Spider-Man and the first Raimi Spider-Man and one of the Batmans are both feel like top 10 contenders. Okay, so let's table that for a second, and we should just say I don't think we're gonna put a Marvel movie on here. They're just like, I just don't like them enough. I don't know.
No, what do you mean a Marvel movie?
I mean, they're so like.
What do you mean, like Iron Man?
Yeah, we can't.
Absolutely not,
right, yeah.
Guys. Look at these movies we have on this list. We have pick your poison. You got your Hangover. You got Men in Black. Okay, how about Men in Black? Let's talk about Will Smith. I don't see any Will Smith on this list.
So Will Smith with
Independence Day.
Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black, Wild Wild West. Will Smith only made one movie a year in the mid. No, it's those four. Okay. He made one movie a year in the mid '90s because Wild Wild West ruined it. Even though it's great, it might be the best of the whole bunch. But those. For those 4 years, what is that, like 94 to 98, or no, 95 to 99, he made one movie a year, and it was the biggest movie of the summer. Will Smith is, if Spielberg is the face of summer blockbusters as a director, Will Smith is the face of summer blockbusters as a performer. So we need at least one Will Smith on here.
Yeah. It's exactly right. It's just like Spielberg.
Yeah.
We could have three. I mean, Independence Day, Men in Black, and Bad Boys or Bad Boys 2. Pick your poison. Wait, Bad Boys come out in the summer? Or is it just Bad Boys 2 is the only nominee?
Bad Boys came out in the summer. Yeah.
Okay,
Bad Boys started his run. My vote, my top choice, and again, a lot of this is personal, a lot of this is based on when I saw the movie, what. My choice would be Independence Day. Independence Day rocked my freaking world. It had everything. They are blowing up the way you had never seen. It became a big trope. And of course you had disaster movies before, but you had never seen the White House blown up in quite as amazing a fashion as an Independence Day. Whole skyscrapers blown to shit. Whole cities destroyed. And it became a trope. It became a go-to, but you had never seen anything like that before. That shot of the White House exploding is burned into my memory forever. And you get Will Smith, and you get Jeff Goldblum, and you get Bill Pullman, and you get Crazy Quaid. You get all these people, right? Everybody is cooking. You get Vivica A. Fox. You get Torch Song. Harvey Firestein's in this freaking thing. You get so many great character actors and stars. You get freaking tentacle-y aliens when they shove Data up against the wall and they're like puppeting him. Oh my God. I went through so many different emotions. The reason I give it an edge over Men in Black is because the range of emotions was more comprehensive, and I think that's part of a summer blockbuster. Is I was scared, I was laughing, I was enthralled by what I was seeing, I was excited by what I was seeing. The adrenaline was pumping, but they had some legitimate scares in it. When again, that alien is like puppeting the scientist, and he's like smushed. His face is smushed up against the glass, and you see the outline of the alien behind him. They go to frickin' Area 51 in this movie. Like, there's conspiracy shit. Like, this movie had every freaking thing I wanted out of a summer blockbuster. Honestly, if I'm just going personal experiences, it's Jurassic Park and Independence Day to me were the most impactful summer blockbusters that I watched growing up.
Well, that's funny because I think now's the time for me to bring up my impactful alien summer blockbuster.
Talk to me.
Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
Okay.
Much like you, Brett, if I were making my personal list, which I have, it's on my desk, it includes Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. I love that movie. For a lot of the reasons it seems like you liked Independence Day, I liked War of the Worlds. Two totally different movies, both of which I watched in the past 2 weeks, but I'm excited we're talking about them. Roland Emmerich's Independence Day is such a, it follows, sorry to be that guy, it follows, the World Trade Center bombings and like the Oklahoma City, bombings.
Yep.
It's like in that, that's sort of where we are with like, America and attacks and terrorism. Like, we're not in 9/11 yet.
It speaks to national anxieties without being literal about it.
It does. But it's funny, in Emmerich's Independence Day, everybody is so rah-rah, and there's such a rush to war. There's not even not that this makes it good or bad, I'm just saying there's not a question whether or not the aliens are good or here for the right reasons, and they're just going to get them. And they all band together, and the president, flies the ship and leads the charge, and they all do it, right? And it is kind of interesting juxtaposition to one of my favorite summer blockbusters, War of the Worlds, which came out in 2005 after 9/11. And this movie is humongous, just like Independence Day. Humongous aliens, gigantic skyscrapers collapsing, the airplane, destruction, all of the terror of alien hands zipping in and getting you. But I just found, I was a kid at that point, post 9/11, younger, and I found War of the Worlds very, very affecting in a not fun Independence Day way. I found it fucking scary. I was scared of aliens, and I think we all were subconsciously or consciously scared of being attacked in 2005, which I know is crazy, but it's just the way it was.
There's a scene in War of the Worlds where the aliens start attacking, and Tom Cruise is running down the street, and he is covered in that very specific gray dust of these of bodies and destruction, all of this, in a way that very clearly evokes all the photos of 9/11 that we saw. And it's terrifying and resonant. Yep. And you made this argument to me earlier this week, and I said, what are you War of the Worlds? That's mid Spielberg. What are you talking about? I hadn't seen it since it came out. You said, go back and watch it. I went back and watched it. Joe, you are absolutely right. Wow. It is a underrated, very underrated Spielberg, very underrated summer blockbuster. It's scary and immediate, and the action sequences are so thoughtful, and it all feels real. It almost is filmed in real time.
It's so
almost
real.
almost weirdly hard. I feel like there's a subconscious harkening back to the Orson Welles radio play with the real timiness of it all, where you see this you see what it would actually be like if this happened, the sort of stages of panic and confusion into fear, and it's really I don't know why I Spielberg never takes a movie off. He is War of the Worlds remake, he's going to put so much thought into it, so much detail into it. I always lump him in my mind with Lucas, but rewatching War of the Worlds this week, I was like, he's our Hitchcock, I think, in a way. The genres don't map exactly the same, the tone of the movies don't map exactly the same, but he's our Hitchcock because he always works through action, through set pieces. He's always thinking about how to sort of create these cinematic set pieces to tell the story rather than like just, over relying on dialogue to tell the story. And in War of the Worlds, he does such an amazing job of it. When you do the Universal tram tour at Universal Studios, they still have the plane, the wreckage of the plane, where Spielberg demanded that they get an actual like Boeing 737 or whatever and just rip it apart and destroy it to show what would happen if a plane crashed in a residential neighborhood. Your tram goes through it, and it's kind of like,
it's amazing.
Everybody goes quiet for a second because it all feels too real.
Yeah.
And then when you watch it in the movie, the way that scene is executed, he's not showing off. He is not like Michael Bay about it. He combines these like massive, perfectly executed effects with like pretty like subtle character first, plot first storytelling.
It's so true, man.
It's
the movie's so deeply human. It's another Spielberg, so it's about divorce, and it's so painfully
the family dynamic is painful.
It's so personal on this massive scale, and I found it really resonant. Independence Day, I don't want to take away its like charms. It's super fun. I found it to be like quite long, and it's not.
It flies by.
It's good. I'm not going to be Mr. Anti-Independence Day, but I just wanted to shout out
got everything,
an underrated summer classic that really needs to be
Here's why I don't think it can
to.
make the list though. Sadly, even though
Independence Day or War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds.
No. What?
Independence Day should definitely be on the top 10.
No way.
Here's why War of the Worlds can't make the top 10. I'm so sorry. And everything.
Wait. What do you mean so sorry? We got a fucking lot of work to do. War of the Worlds could be on this list.
I loved it. Here's what's going to disqualify it.
Fuck?
It was, I think, I guess maybe it was like ahead of its time a little bit in term. I don't know. There's something about it did not become a cultural phenomenon to the extent that could qualify for this list. And if anything, it was considered at the time, I think, a little bit of a miss, and it was not something that like everybody was talking about or this or that.
Everyone's dumb as shit, Brett.
Well, that's the little trick of this list. We have to include our personal feelings, but we need movies that epitomize what it means to be a summer blockbuster, and War of the Worlds does not epitomize summer blockbuster.
In the interest of time, I'm not going to continue.
I'm right. You know that it would just be a 10-minute argument that led you back to right where you are right now, which is
I was
reluctantly
there. It was
agreeing
that summer.
with me.
It was packed. It was fucking fun. I had a big Coke. Everyone was scared. It was fucking fun. 9/11 was scary too. And do you know that Steven Spielberg also made Munich in 2005. Can you believe Steven Spielberg made 2 of his 5 best movies in 1 year?
He's unbelievable.
You heard me, folks.
Plus Spielberg is probably going to get 3 movies.
Well, what about Raiders?
He can't have 4. Yeah, I think Raiders. All right, we need an Indiana Jones.
Okay.
All 3 of them came out in the summer. They all made a lot of money. They all qualified.
We need an Indiana Jones.
The first 3 originals, and then you like Crystal Skull for whatever reason because you're sick in the head.
I like Crystal Skull for a lot of reasons. I understand that it's not going to make this list, but Crystal Skull is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, and I'll save that more for basement takes.
My favorite Indiana Jones movie is The Last Crusade. A lot of that has to do with just personal reasons. I think it's the first one I saw. We had a little VHS of it, and I used to watch it over and over and over again. I flirted with trying to make an argument for Last Crusade. I cannot come up with any argument to put it in over Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark is just such a defining film.
Spielberg top 3.
Such a phenomenon. I mean, Joe,
let's do it.
Joe, I wasn't even tracking it as I was doing it. I just wrote out my top 10.
Yeah.
I have it as Jurassic Park, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I have top 3 or and I didn't even mean to. But how do you argue with
Raiders and
what
War
goes
of the
over
Worlds
those movies?
are in my top 10. I don't know, but let's go ahead and see if we can dig up some nominees.
Okay.
I'm going to toss out some ones that we talked about this week just to rattle them through, and then we can kind of go back and pick up on what you were picking up.
All right, and even if we don't put Independence Day on, we need a Will Smith. There has to be a Will Smith.
Then my vote right now is for Men in Black. Because you know what Men in Black has that Independence Day doesn't? The laughs. Men in Black's funny. And if we're going to say, The Dark Knight and War of the Worlds are too dark, not that Independence Day is too dark for this list. Independence Day is made for this list. I understand that. But Men in Black, I mean, first there's like the money quotient. It made a ungodly sum of money. It spawned many sequels, spawned a television show, spawned, has the freaking song. It's iconic. Everybody knows the iconography of Men in Black. And it's really funny, and it's got those little aliens. I mean, before the Minions, all we had back then were those little aliens, guys.
Here's what you're going to have to do, and I'll give you a second to think about it. If you want Men in Black on this list over Independence Day,
Men in Black. We're just going to agree on Wild Wild West, aren't we?
If you
no, because
Wild Wild West is too.
We need the cultural resonance.
Yeah, it's too much us. It's too much us. It's not enough. It's not enough the culture.
Gotta love.
If you want Men in Black over Independence Day,
I do.
Then you got to give me Burton's Batman over Dark Knight. So you think about it if you want to make that trade. Is it more important to you to have Dark Knight on this list or Men in Black on this list relative to their competitors?
How much I don't want to have. Okay, all right. I love it's a great bet.
I'll let you choose.
We'll check back in on that later. I'm very excited.
The power is in your hands, sir.
I feel powerful.
I wish I was in your position. You get to choose. I'm left with the dregs. But
Brett, you wanted to mention Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince you said earlier?
No, I don't think
that wasn't you?
I'm not going to put in. I don't have any Harry Potter movies in my top 50.
You didn't say that to me. Okay. Here's some ones just to say.
Yeah, what do you got?
Inception, no. Twister, Signs.
Twister is an interesting. Twister's an interesting. All right, here are some I would call second tier options that could be sort of 5 through 10 options that I think are interesting, and I think we need at least one or two of these to really represent what a summer blockbuster is.
Well,
Twister, okay,
which I just watched 2 nights ago.
Jean de Bond's Twister. He had he had cut his teeth.
Speed.
He had learned because Jean de Bond did Speed and Twister, right?
Yes.
But then he was where his name came up for me recently? He was the cinematographer on Hunt for Red October. On John McTiernan's
I didn't know.
Hunt for October.
That's
yes.
awesome. God,
so he
that's
created,
awesome.
and the look of that film is so gorgeous.
Cool.
So Jean de Bont cut his teeth on Hunt for Red October and then goes and makes Speed and Twister. I think he should be represented on this list or at least be in contention. So Speed or Twister I think are both really interesting options. They are fun, they are big, they are actiony, they scream, they're kind of like absurd and silly in their premises, you know, but they just scream summer blockbuster movie to me. So Speed or Twister. Not a big James Cameron fan, but I could not find a way to not include Terminator 2 on this list. I think Terminator 2 is such a summer blockbuster movie. I also found a lot of we need to represent some sequels because this is the one.
Do we have to work on that?
This is the list where sequels rule. I think sequels are it's often, like as you think of the first Terminator, a lot of times the first movie studios aren't sure if it's going to be a hit. They don't know. It's a lot of times the first one is a surprise hit, but then when you get to the sequel, then you got all the money. Because I think that's one thing we haven't mentioned is that a trait of a summer blockbuster, I think, is that it's not a surprise hit. The studios know it's going to be big.
Right.
They want it to be big. They put the full apparatus behind it, the full marketing budget, the full technical effects budget. They put all that. And so a lot of times you see that more in the second movie than in the first movie. So I think T2 deserves consideration. A big one, I have this at number 4, Joe, is the 1996 Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's a great movie, Brett.
What
about the sequel thing you just said? But also, that's one of many criteria. Mission Impossible was a blockbuster. They expected it to do well financially.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Because it has look, De Palma directed it. It has some a couple little artsy touches that you don't find in the sequels. But overall, it still had.
Oh, it's a big spy movie.
It's a big spy movie. Tom Cruise, some of the biggest, most memorable action sequences of the entire 90s. Tom Cruise coming down on the string and almost hitting the ground. Him putting the bubble gum on the helicopter and explodes, and he flies into the train. I mean, some of the biggest, most memorable action sequences. So I have the first Mission Impossible because it's right at the center for me, where it checks all the boxes in terms of money, cultural phenomenon, and it's my favorite of that entire franchise. So I have Mission Impossible on here. We're gonna have to talk about Star Wars at some point.
We're gonna talk about Star Wars. All right. Well, listen.
Yeah.
Let's do it right now.
All right.
Mission Impossible is a good nominee. I like Mission Impossible. Terminator 2 is a good nominee. Just for the record, I like Terminator more than Terminator 2, and I like Terminator 2 plenty. That's all I'm going to say on that right now. Star Wars. Brett, you piece of shit. A Star Wars movie is going on this list.
Whoa!
Why
did you think I not want one on here?
Can I interest you in either Star Wars A New Hope or Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. One of those bad boys, Brett, has to go on this list. The reason I said, Brett, you POS was because sometimes you, for justifiable reasons,
talk shit
turn
about Star
your
Wars.
nose up at the Star Wars franchise.
I mean,
let's be honest right now.
This is the downside. Well, to me, this is, I love summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, just reliving these movies. These are just foundational movies for me. They created my love of cinema. The downside of summer blockbusters to me is that it's blood in the water for the studios. They smell money and then they want to push it as hard as they can. The thing that I don't like, I don't mind sequels, I don't mind franchises. I have a lot of fun with them. I love it. The problem for me is when you get into this point where it's just like this, it's like this lust for complete fucking control of everything, so that the Marvel movies consume everything. They take up every other movie's budget. You can't make comedies anymore because the studios say, well, we're giving you comedy with the Marvel movies and those are the ones that make money. When Star Wars consumes everything, I like a temporary cultural moment. I don't like this sort of decades long hegemony where other movies are getting choked to death in the, because all the money and the marketing budgets and everything has to go to Marvel or Star Wars. So that really turned me against Star Wars franchise, is just this sort of like just the fucking onslaught of it all, just the endless onslaught of it all. You can interest me though in I would lean towards Empire Strikes Back, because I think again the first Star Wars is sort of a happy accident. I mean, they're making a lot of movies, like that around that time period, sort of, like fun space adventures and this and that. The first one was, I think, was a bit of a surprise phenomenon, and then by the time you get to the second one, oh my God, we are rolling now, and we got better screenwriters on board. We got more thrills and chills and more characters. We get more Darth Vader. There's so much fun in Empire Strikes Back. It's not only the best Star Wars movie of all time, I think it qualifies as the most summer blockbustery Star Wars movie of all time, because everyone is fucking ready to rock at that point.
I like it. I'm going to agree with you, but just like for fun movie talk for a second, I wonder, I know the Star Wars, they didn't expect it to be the biggest thing in the history of God and man, but American Graffiti right before Jaws made an ungodly sum of money, like $130 million.
That insane 1950s wave of nostalgia.
Yes, that whole like American. So I wonder if they I just don't know. Just like, I wonder what the studio thought of George and the juice with the Star Wars after American Graffiti. All the Star Wars stories make it sound like they didn't expect anything out of the movie.
No, they gave him the fucking merch rights.
Right. I know. Which is weird. His movie just
handed him $1 billion that they didn't have to.
I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay, sorry. Just some more.
I also just think it's still very, very early in the history of summer blockbusters. So it's like they didn't know such a thing as Star Wars was possible much, So but by the time we get to Empire Strikes Back, though, everyone is on the same page, and that's when, to me, it's just the franchise hits its peak, financially, artistically, etc. So I'm fine with either New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. I would vote for Empire Strikes Back.
I love Empire Strikes Back. I'm happy to put that there.
All right, now here. Okay, so let's say Star Wars episode 5 as
thank you,
a finalist. All right, here's a couple other options for you.
Just hit me with. I got hit me. I have names for you too. I have so many names.
Can we get?
Yeah, I know.
Is it possible? Is it conceivable to get a comedy on this list?
Okay, here's my short list for comedies. I'm glad you said it. A comedy has to go on this list because that's a huge part of going to the movies, and we stand for comedy here. Okay, so here are some options.
Here are the candidates. Hit me with them.
Rush Hour 2.
Ties nothing else.
Rush Hour 2. No, I want real
action comedy.
Real contenders. Bridesmaids.
Something About Mary.
There's Something About Mary. Ricky Bobby. Scary Movie. Well, that's pretty good right there. I mean, Rush Hour 2, earlier this week, we were both looking at each other like, Don't sleep on Rush Hour 2. We both checked it out. It's okay.
You can sleep on Rush Hour 2.
I love
you can
Rush
sleep
Hour.
On Rush Hour 2.
In my heart, I love Rush Hour 2, but in practice, I like Rush Hour 2.
I thought when you brought it up, I was like, oh, maybe Rush Hour 2, because I remember as a kid, it was like the biggest. It was a huge movie.
Funniest thing I ever saw.
It was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it doesn't have to age well. I'm not really worried about that. It doesn't age well, but that's not going to disqualify it. What disqualifies it is the movie's held together with tape. It's cheap. The whole movie, like you watch it now, it feels cheap. It does not feel like a summer blockbuster. It feels like an accidental hit. Brett Ratner couldn't direct his way out of a fucking shoebox. Like the whole movie feels like cheap and held together with tape. And it literally was a hit just for two things: Chris Tucker's star power at that point, and the Jackie Chan action sequences. But other than that, the movie does not feel like a summer blockbuster. It feels cheap and small.
So it's not making it.
It's not going to be Rush Hour 2.
Ted.
Fucking Ted.
Back to the Future. Here, let me help you. Ready? No, pass. And then Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers, interesting.
Wedding Crashers is actually the only... Because here's what Wedding Crashers is going for. Because the reason it's hard to get a comedy on this list is because most successful comedies are somewhat surprises, right? Like it's hard to know comedically. It's really hard to know what's going to hit. You think of like the summer of Superbad, right? That was like that was a surprise.
That wasn't.
I mean, you start to. Oh, that was.
I'm sorry to be pedantic,
no, please.
but like, yeah, I don't think that's on this list.
Okay, great. Okay, so not Superbad, but just in terms of like hit comedies, there's something about Mary. I think people start to realize like a week or two before it's about to come out, just based on like early audience returns. But oftentimes it's people who are not stars yet. Oftentimes that's the movie that makes them a star. You think of Kristen Wiig that was her first big movie. Ben Stiller was not a gigantic star yet before There's Something About Mary. And so I think a lot of times because the comedies are surprises, in the ones that are hits, it doesn't have that like full studio apparatus behind it going into the launch of it. And that makes it feel like less of like a summer blockbuster. But I don't know.
I guess my gentle pushback is sometimes it's not true. Like here I'm looking at
Wedding Crashers. Everyone knew was going to be one.
Yeah. And like I'm looking at Big Daddy right now. Like whatever you think of Big Daddy, it's like
Adam Sandler
movie is going to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, one movie I'm really looking at hard is Talladega Nights.
Yeah. Because Anchorman, because it's too much. It was too much of like a surprise hit.
Anchorman.
But by the time we get to Talladega Nights, the word is out. Everyone knows that Farrell and McKay are going to deliver a mega comedy,
and that was like obviously going to make a ton of money.
Yeah,
because the budget was up, and it had Sacha Baron Cohen in it, and like it was gonna make a lot of money. The problem is, Brett, is that though it opened with a huge $47 million weekend, it only grossed $148 million.
Yeah, bad reviews, not a lot of repeat.
So does that knocks it out of our contention?
The other problem is these are like
Beverly Hills Cop 2, Scooby-Doo.
The comedies that are candidates for this category are not the kind of they're not like these aren't my favorite movies. There's like I mean, Bridesmaids might be the.
I love Bridesmaids.
I mean, would you consider Barbie a comedy? Barbie's a comedy. I think Barbie is a real contender. Here's why Barbie is a big time contender.
Okay. Well, I mean, no. Tell me why. I mean,
I know you're going to agree with this, but
everything we talked about,
massive cultural phenomenon. Check that box 3 times.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon.
Made an ungodly amount of money. Similar to Jaws, people were like, "Oh shit, movies! There's another tier to this we haven't unlocked yet." That's how much money that Barbie made. And I like it. It's not my favorite movie.
Sex and the City instead of Barbie?
Not Sex and the City instead of Barbie.
I'm trying to find Grown Ups, not instead of Barbie. Here's The Heat. I'm just naming all.
Yeah, none
waiting
of
for a comedy to jump out.
I just don't like any of these.
Scary
movies.
Movie. I like Scary Movie.
I loved Scary Movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I did not. It's just too fucking dumb. It's too fucking dumb for this list. It can't make the top 10. I think Barbie. Bridesmaids and but something about Bridesmaids just feels like a little indie. It feels like it feels like the indie movie that did it.
I guess I know what you mean.
I know it's not an indie movie, but it just has the vibe.
No, I know what you mean. Like it only opened with $26 million, but then because of word of mouth, it ended up grossing $170 million domestic. Like, and I think we all were we all were happy, but we all were surprised that Bridesmaids became the biggest thing ever. Crazy Rich Asians, The Karate Kid, the Pitch Perfect 2.
No.
Man. Anyway, all right. So
here's to me our comedy actual candidates.
I don't know if I like Barbie enough for it to be on the list.
There's something about Mary,
Barbie.
Bridesmaids, Talladega Nights, and Barbie.
See, now we're snobs about comedy, so now we're like, none of these are good enough for our list.
But we're really not that snobbish.
I guess you're right.
It's fine it's fine to say the scary movie sucks. Like that doesn't make you a snob. It's fine to say Rush Hour 2 looks cheap. It does.
Right.
You gotta you still gotta bring it. So. I think Barbie, something about Mary, Bridesmaids, Talladega Nights, and the one that checks you got to check every box to make this list though.
Here, ready? Not Ghostbusters. That's not going to be it. Sorry,
I just don't like Ghostbusters. It never been a favorite of mine.
Ghostbusters isn't funny enough.
Same with Back to the Future. Back to the Future and Ghostbusters.
Give a shit about Back to the Future.
It just is never. It's not going to make our list. It's not going to make our list.
Look,
I'm sorry.
Good news. It can be on everybody else's list.
It can be on your list.
All right, this isn't a comedy, but this is comedy things bumming me out. I want to bring the room back up.
Barbie grew on me. I like it.
I don't hate Barbie.
I like it enough. I like it enough for this list. I'd
rather put Goldmember on there, Austin Powers 3, but okay. I like Austin Powers 3 more than Barbie.
This is the top 10 summer
and The Spy Who Shagged Me. I like that one more than
This is
Barbie
Brett and
too.
Joe's top 10 summer blockbusters.
Goldmember made $213 million.
Barbie made $1 billion.
But that's not the only metric. Barbie's okay. I think we need to slow our roll. Brett, I'm gonna shift gears. I have a nominee for you.
Okay.
The Da Vinci Code. Here's the case.
Yeah, you don't have to make it, but go ahead. The case is this is Brett and Joe's list. We get one. We get one on here.
All right. Wait, let's put on 8 Barbie and then cross it out and write the Da Vinci Code next to it.
All right. But tell me why I think
Barbie's good, but and I like a lot of things about Barbie, but it is a gigantic toy commercial. I just I know Batman is too.
Check. Yeah, I mean,
just say. I mean,
yeah,
and I know that
I think that helps its case for this list. Yeah,
but I mean, there's something insidious about it. There's something
insidious about all these movies. These are summer blockbusters.
Not Jurassic Park. It's so pure and beautiful. Okay. These
are essentially the top 10 movies of late stage capitalism. Is what we're doing here.
Well, kind of. Hancock. Can I interest you in Hancock as the Will Smith?
No.
Well, Men in Black is a comedy. All right. Look, sorry. Da Vinci Code. Here's the case.
Yeah. You already know what you have to do to get Men in Black on the list. That's your decision.
Those battle lines have been drawn.
Tell me why I agree with you about Da Vinci Code.
Well, number one.
What's wrong with us?
Number one. Whoa. We learned that Jesus Christ had a daughter or something. That was huge news.
Big time. Big.
No, this movie.
News.
Here's why. The Da Vinci Code actually was a cultural phenomenon. Checks that box. Made $1 gajillion. Checks that box. Big Ron Howard. Big Tom Hanks with the hair. Big running around energy. Ian McKellen's the old man.
Okay, this is the funniest part about this is this makes perfect sense to me and sounds like nonsense to anyone else. I am buying what you're selling 100%. But I stepped out of my body for a second, and what you were saying sounds like nonsense.
This movie was like what are some cool actual punk movies that made people mad? This caused a version of a satanic panic. This
the Da Vinci Code is punk.
Yeah, I know that's so silly to say, but there was this really rabble roused. It was a real provocateur of a film and a book, and the church, the Catholic Church. They could not fucking stand this story, this movie, anything about it. They turned it into such a thing that it gave it all this cultural weight and baggage. People thought it was real. It's insane. And the movie itself is so sillily operatic, it's got Silas whipping himself in the back. It's got chases around Italy. It is good. We love it. I just had to have said it or else I couldn't sleep tonight, Brett.
So here's the thing. We are trying to, I think, we are trying to pick movies that have cultural resonance or cultural phenomena.
Check.
This is still going to be our list, and that is why, because Dan Vitale in the chat is making a very obvious point that
what do you say?
In our sort of stressed out search for a comedy, he's just put Ghostbusters for the comedy. It makes sense for so many people and for so many lists. It's just not going to make our list because Joe and I just don't have a connection to Ghostbusters, and I'm sorry. I do have a connection to the Da Vinci Code.
I love Da Vinci Code. Ted, there's Ted just staring. No, I'm not just kidding.
All right, Da Vinci Code. I think
Da Vinci Code
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah,
we can't go overboard. Da Vinci Code's going to be a 9 or 10, I think.
It's kind of sad to me that we petered out so hard on the comedy thing, but let's pick it back up. Brett.
No, we're going to find one. We're going to find one.
Any other names
I think I'm feeling Barbie more and more.
Gold member. I just let's say some more to get them all out before we start putting some one.
Here's one we love.
Yeah,
Here's one that we love from
me.
Weekend at Bergman's 1999 is The Mummy. The Mummy.
Love The Mummy. Now The Mummy made 150, right? 155, yeah. Definitely is a contender.
So it barely qualifies, but it does qualify. The only problem is, I mean, look, it has a fucking roller coaster over Universal Studios. They did the 25th anniversary re-release. People like The Mummy. The Mummy wasn't a cultural phenomenon, but
no. It was huge, bro.
Yeah,
it was huge.
I don't know. I think it's like 11.
Okay,
I think it's going to be 11.
Now, right above The Mummy.
Yeah.
What about Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I loved that movie growing up. Bob Hoskins.
I could be down for that.
It's got animated characters, and it's got the. I mean, I can quote it to you right now.
It's also as weird. It's as weird as you can get. I want something that is like as weird as you can get, but still qualifies.
Jessica Rabbit, Kathleen Turner's Jessica Rabbit. That movie is so iconic, and
I could see that making it.
That movie is great, and it satisfies our comedy.
Would that be our comedy? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bob Hoskins is hilarious in that movie as the hard-boiled detective.
Did Who Framed Roger? Oh, come on, Hoskins. The Dip. The Dip.
Toontown, The Dip. I mean, need I say more? I mean, that's a very serious recommendation from me. Anything else? Oh, Brett, you know what we don't have?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit might have just knocked out Barbie.
Good. I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And look, no shade to Barbie. I like Barbie very much.
But Barbie's like a top 15, maybe.
Like The Day After Tomorrow is just fun to say it because that movie's fun. It's not going to make the list. Gladiator, great movie, fun to say it. Gladiator
checks a lot of boxes.
Gladiator became a thing around Oscar season.
Yeah,
it became
it's more of an awards.
Even though it's not a summer blockbuster.
We cannot have a. I want to double check that We can't have a movie on here that won. Do we have any best picture? We can't have a best picture on here.
No. Yeah, I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
No.
I mean, Spielberg was pissed off that he didn't win it, but he didn't win it.
For what? Oh, for Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
what he was really pissed off was he got left off the best director list. Well, because
you know what? Dog Day Afternoon got nominated for best director.
The one that he was pissed off about was Fellini for AmeriCorps. Because he was like, not that it wasn't deserving, just like it was all his boys got the other 4 nominations, all like new Hollywood guys, and then the Fellini for AmeriCorps. Yeah,
that's so amazing because it was Kubrick, Altman.
Yeah, because it was
Dog Day Afternoon.
Nashville,
who directed Dog Day Afternoon?
Barry Lyndon, Sidney Lumet for Dog Day Afternoon.
Right, of course. And then the other one was.
Hold on, I'm gonna find it right now. Milos Forman, because that's the year that despite all the competition that year, One for the Cuckoo's Nest like swept.
Yeah, which is the worst one of the lot that we just mentioned. Okay, back to it. I'm so sorry.
It is. It's not Milos's fault though. That source text sucks. All right,
Pearl Harbor, Black Widow,
no,
Night at the Museum 2, John Wick 3, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean is interesting.
Pirates of the Caribbean and Bourne, 2 franchises we haven't mentioned, 2 of my favorites.
All right, so Bourne is too much handheld camera to be on a list of summer blockbusters.
But Bourne 3 was like, I think that was Spider-Man 2 summer, I think, in my head. Was a big deal. The Bourne movies were huge. I think I agree.
They were huge. I love them, but there's a little too much. There's too much. They were too sort of contained, tight. That Paul Greengrass handheld camera. They're a little too good.
I know what you're driving at.
And
I know what you're driving
Pirates, I thought about this a lot because
I love me some Pirates.
The thing that hurts Pirates' chances is how the franchise just sort of spun out of control after that. It's like, it's like I think for this list that kind of matters because that really has, I think it is at the time, if we made this list after Black Pearl came out, that's the first one, right? Curse of the Black Pearl. Yeah, if we made this after Black Pearl came out, undoubtedly, probably top 5. Huge phenomenon. Such a fun movie. Everyone had fun at it. This and that. But the franchise just like went so like weirdly and poorly after that. I just think it just doesn't stand out to me as making the top 10 anymore.
I think that if I remember the second one along your point about how the second one really can blockbuster it up. I remember going to the second one, being hyped out of my mind. It made $1 trillion.
Yeah.
And though it was extra long, I remember loving it. I do think, though, that like unlike some of these other sequels we have here, Terminator 2, Dark Knight, like it's just not that as good as those ones. And the first one, though I loved it, saw the movie theater and people went, it made a lot of money, like kind of reminding me of your point about the sequels and how,
because the first one was a surprise. People didn't know.
It was a surprise.
They were like, you know, all the test screenings, it was like, oh, Johnny Depp's doing this like weird character and it's based on a theme park ride. Are people going to come out for this? So it didn't have like the full apparatus behind it, the full engine behind it. Second one did. It's just like,
it just wasn't. I like the second one because I know in my heart it's not as good as Terminator 2. Come on now. Last one that we haven't said, Brett, is Bad Boys 2.
Okay, yeah.
Now, Bad Boys 2...
a movie that I have fully reevaluated after your amazing analysis of it on last week's episode as the quintessential post-9/11 American movie.
The problem with Bad Boys 2, and I think it's so indicative of summer blockbusters that maybe it can break out of this, it only made $138 million in its run. It opened huge, $47 million opening weekend, but then bad reviews felled it to the 138 million mark.
It's just disqualified then. It doesn't qualify. You can't change the rules because you want Bad Boys 2 on the list. You made the rules. We got to stick by it. Let's just say it's disqualified then.
It's disqualified.
Sorry.
It's disqualified down
Those are the
here
rules.
with Pocahontas, Triple X, Mamma Mia, Fast and the Furious, iRobot, American Pie 2, Lilo and Stitch, War for the Planet of the Apes, Gremlins, Talladega Nights, knocked up, all under 150 million.
And here's a couple
None
more.
Of them making the list.
Here's a couple more options that I don't think are top 10 caliber, but X2, the second X-Men movie, which I love, is really good. I mean, there's a lot of basically all the X-Men are on there, and they qualify in terms of money. Some are blockbusters, but I don't know. They just like Spider-Man, and if we're talking about comic book movies, Spider-Man and the Batman movies are just so foundational for the genre, and they're good, and they made a shit ton of money. I just don't think X2 can compete with that. Face Off, like Face Off, Con Air, those kind of that era of 90s movies.
Yeah. There was
you know what I really like that is would be probably like top 20 for me is Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt.
I like that movie.
It's so much fun. It just is not going to check the cultural phenomenon box, you know. Right. Rambo for 80s.
Love Rambo. I'd think about Rambo.
Do we know, where did we settle on Die Hard? I saw Die Hard appearing on some people's like lists, but like I think
is it not on my short list?
No, I don't know if it meets your criteria though.
So I'm not sure. My criteria came out between Memorial Day and the first week of September. May.
I love Die Hard.
Came out between May and September, and it made over $150 million domestic.
I have total box office at 141.5 million. So I think it's under. I think that's the problem.
Okay,
that's
the problem. Why I'm not finding it.
Yeah. It did come out in the summer. It just is not. It didn't meet your 150 million mark. Sorry, not enough of a block. It does. And
it's
look,
not a
and that criteria is there for a reason, because these need to be mega movies. These need to be mega.
I think it's time. I think it's time to put some fucking things down on paper.
Here are what I have.
Tell us the short list.
Here's our finalists. Okay. Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Mission Impossible, Speed and Twister, Terminator 2, a comedy, and we're thinking maybe Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or Barbie,
or both those.
So let's say it comes down to that: Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Barbie. So that's 7 and 8. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Spider-Man, Dark Knight, or Burton's Batman. Let's see. Jaws, Jurassic Park, Independence Day or Men in Black, and then what the fuck is LK?
I don't know.
Okay, no, hold on. That's one of the big ones.
LK, Lion King.
Lion King. Thank you, Lion King. All right, so that's about that's
why
around
does John
15.
DeBon have his own fucking wait Speed or what's the other movie?
Or
you made?
Twister.
Oh, Twister. Here's the problem with
Because
Twister.
we need something that's like a little like
Twister's Act 3 is not great.
Yeah.
Sorry. Act 3 of Twister is just okay. First 2 acts, I was so there. Third act kind of falls apart. Let's see what we do, Brett. We're not there yet. Let's start at the top.
Okay. All right.
We
Number
both
one,
feel passionate about Jurassic Park.
I think it's got to be Jurassic Park.
I feel passionate
I think it's
about
got to be
Jurassic
Jurassic Park. Even though Jaws is
rules.
the original and rules, Jurassic Park is it's the guy who made Jaws with a summer blockbuster like budget, and it is the summer blockbuster movie. We love it. It checks every box. Jurassic Park is going to be number one.
It opened with $208 million opening weekend.
It's the biggest thing that ever happened.
That's the biggest opening weekend domestically ever.
All right.
I think that's crazy.
Jurassic Park number one.
Oh wait, that was Jurassic World. Wait, hold on a second. That's so.
No, that
funny.
was Jurassic World. Yeah,
Jurassic World opened with 208. That's how hyped everybody was for the reboot of Jurassic Park.
For the reboot.
Right, my mistake.
The second run of the franchise.
All right.
But no,
number
the original
2,
Jurassic Park is number one.
So we got like 2, 3, 4 is like there's Raiders, there's Jaws, there's
what are the
Star
candidates?
Wars, there's Lion King.
Honestly, I think it's those. I think for number 2, it's either Raiders, Jaws, Lion King, maybe the Batman, maybe whatever Batman we go with.
Let's do Jaws and let's do Raiders. 1, 2, 3.
That's so crazy. I don't know if I like Spielberg that much.
But what movie of this list do you like more than either Raiders or Jaws? You like Tim Burton's Batman better than Raiders of the Lost Ark? Do you like the Da Vinci Code more than Jaws? Here's the problem with I don't like Spielberg is well, you keep watching his films and telling me how fucking great they are. I think you do, kid.
I know.
And number 2 is which one of those movies is better than Jaws and or Raiders of the Lost Ark? The Lion King?
You know what? What about the Will Smith? Cutting in there because I think again I think Spielberg is the face as the director. I think Will Smith is the face of this genre as an actor. I think whatever Will Smith we do, but that comes down to you deciding what Batman you want on here. So this is all.
So I can either get The Dark Knight and Independence Day, or I can get Tim Burton's Batman and Men in Black.
That's right.
You know what I should do is The Dark Knight and Independence Day, 2 huge summer blockbusters. But here's what I'm going to do.
Oh, God.
I'm going to pick Batman and Men in Black.
I actually love that.
Here's why. Batman number 1. Guys, I wasn't there, whatever. But we don't get Batman's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 unless that thing changed the world. Batman came out. It was in every Happy Meal. People never stopped talking about it. We got the whole Tim Burton run. We got the whole Schumacher run. Then we got the whole Nolan run.
That worked out well. I like that. I got Men in Black at number 2. Then let's go Jaws at 3.
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back, then Raiders. No, let's do Raiders the honor of beating Empire Strikes Back.
I like that. Yeah, Raiders. So I have to write out the whole title.
Thank you.
Then Star Wars.
Oh, wait, Brett, hold off 1 second.
Yeah, hold off 1 second. Hold off. No, that's not right.
Okay, wait. Just go.
I put fucking Lion King over Star Wars.
I put fucking Barbie over Star Wars. Maybe Star Wars is 10. Maybe Star Wars doesn't make the list.
Maybe Star Wars doesn't make the list.
Okay, I don't know yet.
All right, this is our list. I felt
Jurassic Park, Men in Black, Jaws. What was 4 there?
Raiders of the
Lost Ark. All right, what are some of our nominees now? Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Barbie, Twister.
All right, Da Vinci Code, Mission Impossible, Speed, Twister, T2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Barbie, Lion King, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
This is gonna be fucking hard.
Spider-Man. Out of everything you just said,
Spider-Man at 5?
Yeah, Spider-Man at 5.
I can't put Spider-Man over Lion King.
Then let's go Lion King, Spider-Man, but that beats Batman. That's what's important. Is that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is our number 1 superhero summer blockbuster.
Okay. Lion King at 5.
I like that. That's smart. That's
nice.
just smart. You know what that is, Brett? That's just us being fucking honest.
Totally honest.
That's true.
Guys, go back and watch The Lion King. It's so fucking good.
Fucking great.
It's so the work Jeremy Irons does as Scar in that movie alone is
be prepared,
mind blowing.
It made $191 million its opening weekend, and it went on to gross domestically only $550 million. I'm sure it made $1 billion. All right, worldwide.
So you have Spider-Man at 6 then.
Yeah, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man at 6. Fuck Star Wars. We don't need that shit.
All right, hold on, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Sorry,
all right, now we're down to 4 slots left.
All right, wait.
Okay?
What do we got? What do we got?
Look, we need a comedy, so let's decide.
Or Wedding Crashers.
I don't like it enough. I like who. I
you
like
know what? Neither do I.
Yeah, I don't fucking like it.
I just kind of liked it not being. I like that's original. You know, just like it's an original movie. It's an original comedy. But so, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? The problem with that is we're gonna get a lot of raised eyebrows. Barbie, it's like duh. You know,
do people think of Roger Rabbit as a summer blockbuster?
Well, just recency bias says Barbie, but look, it hit the criteria.
Oh, it hits it and then some. It came out in June and made $350 million. Let's do Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I love it. I mean, literally, Brett, that's music. I can't tell you how much I love that.
That feels
movie.
like 10 to me, though.
Oh, yeah, it definitely feels lower. It feels lower because we already have Lion King so high.
So, or maybe like 9. 10 is probably going to be like either like T2 Speed or Twister.
All right. Well, okay, wait. Okay.
Who Framed Roger? God, is Da Vinci Code just going to invalidate this whole list?
Brett, the list is already like.
Is Da Vinci Code going to invalidate the whole list?
I feel like Da Vinci Code has to be on here though. Here, look. We have 4 slots left. What if it was like? Let me just.
I'm gonna put Roger Rabbit at 9. That feels like where it's gonna go. So
Roger Rabbit, Empire Strikes Back, Da Vinci Code, and Barbie all make it, and then everyone's happy.
Hold on a second. Okay, so here's what we got. We've got.
Okay, yeah, this is good.
And Mario, you can cut to me for this. I'll try to get this on. All right. We have Jurassic Park, Men in Black, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Nobody can argue with any of that, and I don't let them argue. I don't give a shit. But
5 Lion King.
I can't argue with that. And 5 Lion King.
No one's arguing with top 5.
Top 5 are solid. Then Raimi's Spider-Man.
I think that's a good start.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit at 9. And then we've got for 3 slots. We've got Da Vinci Code, Empire Strikes Back, Mission Impossible, Speed, Twister, T2, Barbie, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means just literally, let's see, count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies for 3 slots.
Well, first there has to be an actual fucking mega smasher, whether it's T2, Empire Strikes Back, or something of that ilk. There has to be just like a mega one that we have to include.
I really like T2. It's a lot of fun.
I love T2.
Yeah.
No, I love T2.
Yeah.
Let's put,
and we get a Valley movie on here.
Well, I love Terminator 2.
Maybe T2 is 10. T2 maybe feels like, look, T2 10 and then knock out Speed and Twister. That knocks out Speed and Twister.
I'm so sorry. Just Speed doesn't give me summer blockbuster enough, even though I love it. And Twister's 11. Twister's like, it's just Twister's not 11. It's just not 100% right.
You do get a Philip Seymour Hoffman performance.
You do, and you know what
How fun would it be to have him on this list?
In his early career.
And you get Bill Pullman. Like,
I don't care about Bill Pullman.
Oh, he's such an underrated actor. He's so good.
Well, he just recently passed. I don't care about Bill Pullman.
No, not because of that. Because of
no. I'm just saying, like, sorry.
True Lies. He's so funny and weird. The Near Dark, that vampire movie. Bill Pullman's amazing.
Big Love.
Sure, whatever you need to say.
So. Twister 7, Da Vinci Code 8, Terminator 2, 10.
All right, hold on a second. Wait, did that include Twister?
Yeah, it did. I was throwing you a bone.
All right, Twister 10, then what? T2?
No, Twister 7, Da Vinci Code 8, T2 10.
I think that might be it.
Or should we put T2 8, Da Vinci Code 7, Twister 10?
Or
Who Framed Roger Rabbit goes down to 10.
So Mission Impossible is a no for you?
No, I'd rather have that than Twister. I was just trying to be a fun player. I like Mission Impossible more than Twister, but Twister certainly was... Like, I like that the bad guy was Weather.
So Star Wars is off, because it's like... honestly,
we're just trying to put it on the list.
This is our list.
I think, okay, so...
Everything you've... like. I would watch Twister, Speed, T2, or Mission Impossible, or The Da Vinci Code before I watched Empire Strikes Back. That's just me, and this is our list, and I think the same is true for you. I'm sorry, y'all. It's like
No, hey, Brett.
Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Star Wars, some of these big movies, they just never like became my movies, you know? It never became my movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to make my list.
Yeah, see, I feel like I can go Terminator 2 or Empire Strike Back are equal to me. They're both like that good. Like they're both so good.
Well, then I'll tie break and say T2. So, okay, so
I like that we both know that Da Vinci Code's on the list. That's really important to me. You want to bump it already? All right. Look, Da Vinci Code's heads. He fought the good fight.
Here's the big problem with me in Da Vinci Code is it might be my least favorite of the Robert Langdon movies. That's a problem.
Well, Terminator 2 is my least favorite out of the first two Terminators. You know, it's that kind of a thing. So pitch me on what it's going to be if we're not going to include Da Vinci. Like you're going to be like, oh, I got to put Barbie in there. It's like, no, we're going to put Da Vinci Code.
No. The last three spots would be Mission Impossible, Twister, and Terminator 2, which feels like so right. That feels so right. Because the other problem with Da Vinci Code is like this list is about us meeting the world halfway. Okay. The world meets us halfway, and we meet the world halfway. Honestly.
Okay.
The reason that Da Vinci Code can't make it is the same reason, in a sense, that Star Wars can't make it. Is that Star Wars is too much on that side. It's too much the world's movie. It's not enough our movie. Yeah. Da Vinci Code is too much our movie and not enough the world's movie.
You're right. I'm letting you've said it well.
All right. So how about
kind of like, all right, so pitch me your thing again. It was good.
I think
what about Batman?
Was Batman on here?
No, Batman on Dark Knight's not on there.
Fuck. Well, we got
fuck Twister then. Or no, but Twister gives it some color. I know you like that. Like Twister gives it a different flavor.
You know what's gonna knock? You know what Batman knocks off? I think
T2.
Yeah. It's a good thing because James Cameron's not my guy.
Put Twister 10 though, or there's Mission Impossible.
No, Twister 10.
Yeah, Twister 10,
and then Mission Impossible 8, Batman 7.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yes, that's right.
And that's Burton's Batman.
That's right.
1989.
That's right.
That's it.
This is right. Let me see this list.
This is correct.
This is the correct list.
This is Brett and Joe's list of the top 10 summer blockbusters of all time.
This is the list.
This is it.
This is actually it.
I feel this in my bones.
That's actually it. Everyone can agree.
Yes.
Shall I?
All right, hold on. Let me get my Oh God, this is.
No, you got so much going on here. I'm going to read it. You want to read it? Or?
You read it. You read it.
Movies, baby, with 5 Ys. Top 10 summer blockbusters of all time. 10. Twister. 9. Who Framed Roger Rabbit. 8. Mission Impossible. 7. Batman.
Burton's Batman. 1989.
6. Spider-Man. Raimi Spider-Man. 5. Lion King.
I love that.
Original. 4. Raiders of the Lost Ark. 3. Jaws. 2. Men in Black. 1. Jurassic Park.
Correct.
Well, we did it again.
Correct.
We were right.
Correct.
What a show.
We always figure it out.
God
we always
damn.
get it right.
This is a tough one. That was a tough one.
I didn't think we were going to get this right. I thought here's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to have to make some like concessions that were out of character. We had to make concessions, but we kept our name on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
This is our list.
That's ours.
Of the top 10 summer blockbusters of all time.
Even 1, 2, 3 is controversial. I mean, putting Jurassic Park above Jaws is its own controversy, let alone understanding the power of Will Smith and the importance of Men in Black.
Yeah.
Putting it at 2. Anyway, what an amazing episode. That was fun. Thank you, everyone at home. Thank you, Margot. This is her flu game, everybody. She is sick.
Thank you, Margot.
And she suffered through it.
Thank you,
God
Margot.
bless. That was very nice of you. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you, Carson, for being the best.
Always.
The best clipper and social media genius out there.
Yeah.
I'm shocked how good our social media is, considering that this is still a relatively new show.
Mm-hmm.
But man, we came out of the gate on fire on social media, and it's because of Carson. So thank you very much.
Shout out Carson.
And thank you to Eris for this amazing set, as always.
All of our
the
sets
team
here at
is
Forever Dog
strong.
Mom.
The crew, the team. It is strong here on Movies Baby. Make sure you sign up for our Patreon. That's Movies Baby with 5 Ys. And if you are signed up, you can join us in just 10 minutes for basement takes. Oh, when do you have to leave? 8?
Yeah, what time is it?
8. Okay.
Quick basement takes.
All right, we'll do a very quick basement takes. And then Joe will be on his way to whatever movie he needs to see. We've got so much good stuff on the Patreon. I'll save it. I'll do the longer plugs next week. But please sign up for our Patreon, and if you are, you'll be joining us for Basement Takes here in just a second. We might roll into it sooner than 10 minutes because Joe's on a clock. But thank you very much, and we will see you next week for another Movies Baby. Bye.
We could do Basement Takes tomorrow after hot dogs. Or we